From outage to outrage, a lightning rod figure joins the Atlantic League. We discuss on this week's episode of the Indie Ball Report podcast. We're back, episode number 368, Indie Ball Report podcast. Just me and the Gender Goblin talking this one out. Been a pretty quiet week, you know. We're going to talk about the Baseball Champions League. We're going to talk about some April Fool's jokes. The Atlantic League draft happened, and oh, yeah, Yuba's using ABS, but only Yuba and only for home games. And then the Ducks signed some washed-up pitcher, too, that we got to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun time, isn't it, Ryan?
I like that you called the Thomas Dormy signing the biggest pitcher signing of the day. I love that from you.
I mean, low-key kind of is.
Yeah.
If we're talking about genuine impact, and I guess we'll just cut to the chase and get right into the thing most people that are new here, hi, you're not going to like this show, are here to talk about, and the delusional fools that must be suffering from some kind of mercury poisoning keep coming back week after week to listen to, want to hear about, and that is Trevor Bauer has signed with the Long Island Ducks. We could call him the former Cy Young Award-winning pitcher. We could also call him a first ballot Hall of Famer when it comes to bag fumbling, seeing as he fumbled a $120 million contract because of some sexual assault allegations, we'll call it, because he really does really
the allegation, yeah.
He really is spanning the gamut. A very talented two-way player. Yeah, he's been out of Major League Baseball because of those allegations since 2021. Spent 3 years overseas, 1 in Mexico, 2 in Japan. Wanted to come back stateside, and I could tell you for certain it wasn't just the Ducks that he was talking to. I know there was other teams that were talking to him and genuinely thought that they were at the finish line with him, and were kind of surprised that he wound up on Long Island based off of their conversations. Also, a little fun fact, he's going to be mic'd up for his opening day, and he's going to be doing some other media stuff around the team as well. So make of that what you will. So that's all a secondary conversation point. But I think the main thing we're here to talk about and discuss is the fact that he is in the Atlantic League and the general reception that has stemmed from this here. Obviously, you gained a little bit of traction. The white boy that co-hosts this show with me seemed to have caught a little motion on his one tweet, which was a pretty innocuous tweet.
It was also literally the hit send tweet closes Twitter. And then we go to start the pod. I'm like, oh, there were 120,000 views on this and 1,000 likes and replies. I'm like, oh God, all right.
Like, this is going to go well. So
yeah, this will be a fun read.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and give some thoughts on this one?
My thoughts on the situation?
Yes, right. I'm throwing that grenade to you to start. Because this is my show and I can do that.
I think.
And therefore you are.
2 angles to this that you can view it from. One is the angle of separating the art from the artist. And the other is you can't separate the art from the artist. And I think if you separate the art from the artist, and by that I mean remove the allegations from the equation, the general consensus on Trevor Bauer is that he is still one of the worst teammates you could possibly have. And he sucks as a person. So, yeah.
Not great, boss.
No, not great. And what I saw on Twitter, if people didn't catch it on Twitter, which good for you if you didn't, is that when I was with Lexington, we were doing baseball operations. We were at a weird point where it was right during the lockout, so we were kind of eyeing up everybody's situation. But then it occurred to us because then Trevor Bauer was suspended. And we still weren't really sure the details in the suspension. Stuff was kind of coming out slowly, and there was a lot of conjecture and rumors and what it was, whatever. And so we were like, well, is that worth putting a feeler out to? And we reached out to his agent, and we had a lot of connections because Lexington is in the Cincinnati area. Having Brandon Phillips involved in the ownership and with the team means a lot of Cincinnati familiarity with the players that were in the clubhouse with Trevor. And we kind of very quickly assessed that we would probably be able to make something happen if we wanted. And then we kind of were like, let's step back and let's see what kind of guy he is and learn a little bit more about maybe the legal situation here. And 8 of his former teammates were talked to. All 8 of those former teammates said, that guy sucks. I don't care. They obviously care if he did or didn't do what he allegedly, it was alleged he had done, but they were like, even if he didn't, I don't want that guy near me for a baseball season. Like, no, thank you. I think
that's kind of a damning indictment.
And I think even when you look at, there's a lot to it. I mean, there's some people he's really close to around the game and on the outskirts of the game. And while they still do stuff with him a lot of the time, they have not really stepped up and been like, yeah, he's the guy. There's some people who are like, oh, those allegations fell apart. Well, that's not really the whole picture. So let's maybe go read a little closer on that one. And when you hear more about what he is like personally, it does seem as if he is a real head case to deal with. And since, by the way, that time, I've also dealt with 3 different people who worked with him in a slightly different context, still baseball, but not as teammates. And they also were like, yeah, we kind of approached him the same way that they would typically approach like Zach Greinke, because Zach Greinke, he's on the spectrum and he can be really difficult to work with, not intentionally. It's just that he is very peculiar. And they kind of were like, that felt like the read we were getting off Trev. And then we spent days with him and we settled on, no, Trevor's just an asshole. And he doesn't like to be told no, or that he's wrong. And that would not be surprising if that was the largest theme in his life. So yeah, I'm saying this now, and the only reason I even put that tweet out there is because I don't intend to spend much time talking about Trevor Bauer. I don't think he deserves that time. I don't think I side-eye the whole situation because I don't think Long Island is doing this because they genuinely see him as a path to a championship. I know that it looks like his numbers are pretty good in Japan, but when you look at what the run environment is in Japan, he was one of the worst starting pitchers in the league by ERA.
I was going to say, isn't Japan historically known for being a low offense league? Yeah.
In fact, if you go by like the minimum, if you go by the inning minimums, he was the worst starting pitcher in the league by ERA. I don't know. I'm not looking at this like, big move by the Ducks. I'm not really thinking that. I think you were right to say Thomas Dormy was the biggest signing announcement of the day on the pitching side. I don't look at Trevor as a guy who needs money and he's just grinding out a career, which is something that I can, usually see and like kind of relate to and respect. I don't see him as somebody who's just trying to make it work going back to the majors. That guy has been told by every single ball club they don't want him. They don't care. He did have a very good year in Japan before his most recent one, and they didn't want him then. They don't seem to want him now. So that path seems closed. If this is some sort of redemption arc for him, I don't know why. He has a big YouTube following. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need, I guess he just wants to play ball somewhere. And I guess, Long Island is the place to do that, is what he went with. And I just don't know. I don't find it, I don't find any aspect of it compelling. I don't find him to be some dominant force within the indie ball landscape at this point. I think that's insane and disrespectful of the quality of pitching that is currently in indie ball and overly estimating his quality of pitching. And I don't like the type of attention it brings into indie ball where it just a scroll through the replies. I mean, there's a very interesting overlap between supporters of certain people. And I just think the people who defend Trevor Bauer seem to not do it for the right reasons. It seems to be, whether they know or not, motivated by a lot of the wrong things. And I am not thrilled about potential ballparks full of people. What I don't like, here's the thing, right? What I don't like, and this is something that we also talked about in Lexington with actually another player as well that we were looking at, is the idea that there could be people there to support this guy because of this situation. And then there's people there to get on his case. I don't like either, because in the end, you then have to have kids at the game who are like, what's going on? And now we're cracking open that conversation. That makes me want to go back to a Ducks game. You know, I don't know. And by the way, that goes for everybody, because he's going to be drawing a crowd when he's on the road. And for the right reasons and the wrong reasons, I'm going to say almost all wrong reasons, if I'm honest. But like, I'm sure maybe there's some people who really like guys who used to get a lot of, you know, check swing strikeouts, I guess. But I don't know, man. I don't see any benefit to it. I don't see anything. There are plenty of guys who could use that spot. You're the Long Island Ducks. You're an in-demand organization in the Atlantic League, at times despite your best efforts. I just don't think this was necessary. I think it's a headline grab, and I think it's just kind of gross. I don't know. You can spin the angle of second chances. I mean, Andrew Bellotti just got picked up in Indy Ball too, didn't he? So second chances are there too. He has a fascinating story. But that's not what this is. So I don't know.
So you touched on something that I want to get to, which is this isn't a signing for baseball reasons.
Yeah.
It very much seems like a Long Island move for the headlines, which is odd when you think about it, because that's probably one of the few teams that really does not need to generate headlines. They kind of are in demand in their own marketplace and have command of their region well enough to where there's no particular reason to do this. I do, in a way, wonder if this is like their way of growing brand awareness, and it's just, hey, this Bauer fella got a really large YouTube audience. He's really well known, and if he's got a following there and on social media, he must have a fan base. Thus, we should go try to incorporate that into him, because we run in basically the same industry. And I do wonder if that was the thought process here. There was a brief moment where I kind of stopped myself from thinking if Frank Bolton was here thing, because like, no, they did have Josh Lukey on the team, and like they, not the same thing, but close enough to be in the same boat. And, I just, it's disappointing to see that. I'm not a real fan of the signing either. I mean, he's a 35-year-old, pretty washed up pitcher here. That
there's a chance he could have a good season, but in no way would that good season be worth the headaches.
Like here's the thing: I don't think that chance is that high, though. I don't think it's enough to justify bringing that in. And like, at least with Lukey, right? His thing was bad, obviously, but he wasn't really that well known enough. So like, I kind of get the, we'll see what he can do kind of angle. Like the second chance thing on that front, I think is a far better story here. Bauer already had his deal. Like, you want to say second chance is great. He pitched 2 years in Japan and a year in Mexico. Like, is that not a second chance? Those are leagues that guys that are in the Atlantic League want to get to because they pay a living wage. You go play LMB for even half a season, that funds like another year and a half of ball. You go to Japan, that's going to fund you probably for another 2-3 years if you can last the season. Like, you make real money over there. And presumably in Japan, if you're an import guy, they're not too keen on getting rid of you. It's a whole process if you do that. So, like, he had his opportunities. It's clear he's using this as just a launching pad for his own self here. And whatever organization was going to bring him on was agreeing to be that launching pad, and we're trying to siphon something off on that. And from the league perspective, I find it more interesting, right? Because they were never going. First off, Long Island can do what they want in the Atlantic League, with or without Frank on the show. There, Long Island calls the shots. That's known fact, and I think there's too many people in the Atlantic League that will argue that point. And the ones that are probably in the dark a bit, but so the league couldn't really do much about this, even if they wanted to. But I don't think they had any desire to do it, judging by the "Welcome to the Atlantic League" Trevor tweet. I find it interesting that they made that decision because, and again, it goes back to a point you brought up where it creates a tense ballpark environment. And it certainly does spit in the face of the objective being family-friendly entertainment, right? Like, it's inviting something here. And the last thing you really want to hear is a bunch of people yelling about "Why'd you hit that girl, Trevor?" around some 5-year-olds and having that spiral out. Like, I just don't like that optic in that environment here. And again, I feel like you remove like the 2 or 3 really good Trevor Bauer seasons. We're talking about like the equivalent of Rick Porcello getting signed, and we'll be like, "Oh, cool, Rick Porcello," and then we'd move on. Although, in fairness, Rick Porcello seems like a much more chill dude that actually be a great addition if you could get him in indie ball.
And here's my thing too. I'm actually very, very well acquainted with the career of Trevor Bauer. He is a very interesting person from the perspective of mid-career development, very early in on a lot of the driveline stuff and things like that. Here's my thing, right? When you look at his Japan run, he had in the 1 year, he had a 2.76 ERA. He had 9 strikeouts per 9, which is less than he had in the majors, which is expected. There's less strikeouts in Japan. And there was 8.2 hits per 9, which was well more than he had in the majors, which is also expected. It's a big contact league. Now, then he had a 4.5 ERA in the second season where he really was not as good. And he had over a hit per 9 innings and 1 strikeout less per 9 innings. And he was also walking people at a higher clip than he'd ever really had, especially since like 2019 when he really sucked. So, and here's what I know, and I don't even need to see the metrics breakdown on this to give you a pretty damn good guess what was happening there. Trevor is a spin rate guy. That was because that was something that he realized he could develop. He's a nerdy dude. He's not athletic. He had to learn how to like hyper manage pitch grip and release. And he ended up throwing nasty spin. So like he was like 100th percentile in fastball spin rate for those 2 seasons where he was like untouchable. But at the same time, he was also 60 plus percentile in chase and in a chase percentage. His bad seasons, which were just a few seasons before, he was in the 2nd percentile for chase rate. What it is he throws nasty stuff with a ton of movement and aggressive spin at a solid velo. And it's sketchy on accuracy, but he, with all the movement it gets or all the ride it gets, depending on the pitch, he gets you to chase it. And I am willing to bet that somewhere along the line in Japan, they all went, "Oh, just don't chase it." And then they started getting, he had to work into the zone more. He started getting touched up. And there you go. Because that's what happened when he had trouble in the majors and he freaked out and couldn't handle it. And in Japan, that's just my guess that after being exposed to the Trevor Bauer experience for a few games, and there's not many teams in that league, so you're getting looks at them, they all went, "Oh, just don't chase. Like if this thing is spinning like crazy and it's low, it's probably going to buckle out low. And if it's high, it's probably going to ride more than you think, and you can probably leave it high." And I would just say, keep that in mind. Keep those guys in mind if you're a team, because I'm betting this guy could have a couple of meltdown games if he runs into a team full of experienced batters. Like I'd be interested to see his first game against Gastonia. Because that's a team that does their research and like comes in prepared, in my experience.
You know, it'd be a batter that'd be fun to watch him go against.
What you got?
A guy like David Washington would be fun. Because Dave's been around a minute.
True.
And one mistake, he can send that thing deep.
Yeah, there's a few guys who I feel like could absolutely tag him. I mean, he gave up 15 homers last season. in Japan. Like, that's not spectacular. That's tied for the league lead, by the way. And he got 14 the year before.
It's a shame Kyle Martin's playing banana ball right now.
He just got like 100-something mile an hour comeback off his dome piece the other day, and I was laughing. Anyway, that's just my take on it. I don't see it as a compelling human story. I don't see it as a pleasant human story. I don't see it as a compelling pitching signing. Like, yeah, this could go well, but I think only to an extent. And let's also keep in mind, too, this is going to be one of the only guys where every single person has the book on him. Like, everyone knows what he's throwing. So it is not beyond the realm of possibility that everyone walks in the box knowing that you don't need to force against him. You can force him to throw a strike and run with it.
So I need to know two things. One, when do we expect him to just huck another ball in the center field?
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be laying low. It doesn't seem like he will be.
Yeah, no, he's doing too much media stuff to be laying low. So I expect at least one crash out. I just don't know against which team. I do have a couple ideas on what would be the funniest teams that seem to have a total crash out against.
I want it to be, and I think it is very likely to be, like an ugly, empty game. I don't think it's going to be so early that it's like a cold weather game, but hold on, let me see here. I can give you pretty much what I'm thinking on this. Actually,
I need it to be like a Thursday day game, like 11 o'clock start in Staten Island.
Ooh. It won't be a morning game.
Yeah, but I want it to happen in front of like a bunch of school kids just watching this former Cy Young winner get just taken to the shed.
Oh, he's going to face Gastonia. It's like 4th week in the league.
Okay.
He'll probably open against Hagerstown. Let's figure he's pitching 1 or 2. So
no, they already know something.
Okay, so home Hagerstown. Next one would be home Lexington, I think. Or road Lancaster. That one could be a debacle. That's a good hitting team in a ballpark that's built for them. The Lancaster early season's touch and go. Then home against Lexington, on the road against Hagerstown, home against Gastonia, on the road against High Point. It could be an empty game in High Point in late May. I could see a world where he rolls that Hagerstown, Lancaster, or Lexington, and then by the way, I could see them wanting to throw him going 6 starters even to get him to pitch the home game again, the next home game. And then they could throw him again on the next home game, like do back to back. Anyway, so the first 3 starts would be home. But
I was going to say, getting in the weeds to see a home only pitcher.
Right. If he goes Hagerstown, Lexington, Hagerstown, like I could see him rolling through that segment, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then I could see him having potential headaches against Gastonia and then having to go to High Point. If it's a midweek game, there's going to be no one there. It's mid to late May, so you could have bad weather. High Point's a good ball club. That could be the game. That could be the game. Because I do think it's an empty game because what it is.
The only point I will fight you on an empty game at High Point is I do think the kind of personality that Trevor Bauer is going to bring out the kind of frat kid that would go to High Point U.
Oh, shoot. That's an interesting point. That is an interesting point. But
it'd be a friendly crowd for him.
A meltdown. I think he's the guy who also can thrive when he's getting a lot of hate. But if he starts not thriving, he also spirals out. I think there's a Southern Maryland series in June, by the way.
That could be it. Honestly, though,
I think empty ballpark, because there's something about the moment of this isn't going well, and you look around and it's not even that the crowd's on you, because man, that's like MLB is like that too, bud. Like it's a war. It is what it is.
No one cares.
I'm here in the middle of nowhere in hell. My ERA getting spiked by 2 full runs during this situation.
Like, a bunch of guys that didn't get above AA.
At that point, you're blaming the mound, you're blaming the environment, you're blaming the bus ride. Like just
in total fairness, depending on the ballpark, the mound could actually be to blame.
That's a fact. High Point does tend to have a good mound, though. Things you know. Turf, though, still gross, but whatever.
I mean, we've learned to come to accept that monster.
Womp womp. I'm also looking at the July Charleston series. There's definitely something there. Also, talk about weird. We always have the conspiracy theory of scheduling just seems to work out well for Long Island. They close with 3 games at home against Southern Maryland, but they have a Wednesday, Thursday back-to-back off days that last week of the season.
That's curious. Nothing like getting rested up for that last push.
Nothing like being able to line up your pitchers however you want.
And not to mention your 2 off days are the 2 shittiest days to try and sell.
You're right. Exactly. That's crazy.
What a fortuitous bounce in the season.
Yeah, man.
Funny how that happens sometimes.
How about it? I'm like ringing in the 250th anniversary of America with a guy who, well, makes questionable choices with force.
This whole thing does kind of remind me a little bit of like the Bryson DeChambeau arc. Only, well, I still think Bryson's kind of a dick.
Mm-hmm.
He's never done anything criminal.
I think Bryson also, there's a lot of like just straight up insecurity in there. And he's like, while I don't think he has the self-awareness to fully process it, I think there's moments where as a viewer, he is an interesting human, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you were to get to know Bryson, I think he's also an interesting human. I think very much like I think Tiger Woods is an interesting human. I think there's certain people who are like get in trouble repeatedly or do dumb things repeatedly where it's like, wow, that's a selfish, bad person. Like I think Bryson and Tiger actually come from the same cloth of like, they're not normal people. They're having trouble fitting in all the time. They don't know what to do. They're weird. Like, I think they're still rolling with that. I think people approach Trevor thinking that's what they're going to get. And from what I hear every time, they're like, oh, he just sucks. Oh.
So Trevor Bauer's a duck and in the Atlantic League. We'll see how this story ends there. We'll see how long he lasts in the Atlantic League too. I got to imagine LMB and MPB have better traveling accommodations here, or unless he just does his own thing. And I'm curious to see what the full agreement with Long Island is, because I can't imagine he has a standard player contract with the works. I gotta imagine he has special carve-outs and caveats for his things. So
I would suspect he's not traveling with the team.
I would imagine.
Like, I think he might be playing away games, but I don't think he's taking the bus. That's for sure.
That will definitely ingratiate him with the boys.
Do you have anything else? Because I'm serious. I'm like, I don't know how much room we'll talk about him at all. So I'm kind of trying to see if I have anything else in mind while we're at it. I just don't.
Honestly, my fascination isn't with him, but the situation around him more. I'm curious to see how Long Island's going to handle it. I'm curious to see how the room's going to handle it. Long Island's a team that's known for bringing in former major league guys too, so he's not going to be the only guy with major league experience. How's that relationship going to work out? You know, how is he going to handle the adversity that he will wind up facing? God, that was such a like mainstream media way of saying that. But yeah, when he's getting to put it bluntly, when he's getting batted around by guys that topped off in Double-A and whose big claim to fame was, I was a top 5 round pick, and then I wound up hitting 130 in A-ball, and then I got cut by the time I was 23. When that dude's, teeing off on him for a series, and they wind up going like, I don't know, 7 for 12 against him with a couple of runs. How's he going to take that? You have 2-3 bad starts in a row for a guy that's known to be a head case and literally threw a ball into center field and has had blow-ups in the past. How's he going to take that? Like you said, when things get tough in like a summer night midweek in like Waldorf, Maryland, how apt is he going to be to say, you know what? I still love this enough to be going from hotel to hotel on this road trip to go out and pitch 6 some odd innings. And then later in the week, screw off from the team to go film whatever content piece I have this week. You know?
Yeah, that's an interesting point also. I agree. The dynamics around this will be interesting to watch. I'm going to hit 2 things that are more random on this before we fully move on. One being, just because it's come up again in numerous responses to the tweet about it. Don't ever think I'm posting something for clicks, friends. If I was in it for clicks, I just would, not be covering indie ball. And yeah, it's there's some pretty there's a lot of people, I guess, that are pretty confident because I mentioned, we talked to people who were his teammates. There's a lot of people who were like, seems like just anonymously, oh you don't know.
Names.
Here's what I want to tell you. Here's what I want to tell you. I can tell you for sure I'm gonna be talking to teammates. And this is gonna be when he knows he's being watched too, because now there's pressure on it because he didn't care back then. So I'm interested to see, but we'll get some insight there. But yeah, people really all over the anonymously trashing. Guys, I'm not going to name drop major leaguers in a tweet. We see that this random tweet that I didn't even think about because I tweeted it and then literally was just back to my work day and only starting the pod. I was like, it has a lot of movement and the stuff happening on it, but I'm catching up on all this. But it's like, okay, if this is going to be the type of tweet that I don't even try to make a big deal, it was literally my writing this off. This was my tweet that goes, I'm just putting this out there because I don't really want to talk about it. That got 140,000+ views and a lot of other things happening. You know what I wasn't going to do as somebody who would like to continue to work around baseball? Name drop a bunch of major leaguers in this. What are we talking about? That's insane. That's absolutely not what we're doing.
Do you mean you don't want to kill your career prospects more than you already have?
And the other thing is that while I do a lot of reporting, this wasn't reporting. This was just me giving my opinion on the thing and my background on it and my venture into the potentially signing Trevor Bauer space and all the people around him who I was able to talk to and we were able to talk to were like, absolutely not. So sure.
I do find it kind of fascinating though, that you do have these people here that are still like, wow, only 8 teammates here. That really proves a lot. It's like, guys.
Yeah, brother, I only talked to 8.
Not only that, right? But how often are you seeing people shit talk their former teammates? It's kind of like a universally accepted thing. You don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So if it stands out enough it was like, and I gotta imagine, you're the one talking to him, not me, but I gotta imagine it was pretty quickly on. They're like, oh yeah, no, he's an ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't jump to that unless he's really bad, guys. I can't stress to you how much guys don't really like to trash each other because it's a small world and everything comes around.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. You usually, even if it's off the record and behind closed doors, still a lot of guys won't say something negative about somebody, especially when it comes to talking to a team that is thinking about signing them. You just usually don't. And, part of this it's because, the person that was reaching out to them was someone they're familiar with and former teammates of and friends with. So, they're more likely to tell us the truth. And they certainly seem to. They're very forthcoming about it.
Yeah. I mean, even when people say negative things about former teammates, it's normally, he's not a guy for everybody. He can be difficult to work with, like that kind of a thing. It's like corpo speak for, he's kind of an ass. But when they come out right and say it, it's like, okay, that's kind of alarming.
Yeah. That's just that. I don't know what else to say. I mean, there's a lot of people who are like making that up, brother. Don't really care enough to make it up. I'm going to level you. I don't care enough about the parties involved to cook up an entire lie to put out there. I just have better things to do. I don't know.
Yeah. My final thought on the matter before we go on to other shenanigans across indie ball this week, which will prevent us from doing a Frontier League recap.
Yeah. We're binging the whole league next week. It's going to be a disaster.
It's going to be a fun one for you, Shep. I can't wait to get the DMs or text messages. Who's to say with Shep? Who knows what you're going to get? But I will wrap with this on Bauer. For the sake of personal comedy, I wish he would have signed in the American Association particularly with Chicago for, the consistency. Fits the company culture as it would appear. And like, I just can't get the thought of Jabari Henry taking him deep several times in one game out of my head. And the hell that pitching in the birdcage would create upon that man. Or the thought of you just did a long ass road trip to Cleburne, Texas, to pitch in the 95 degrees central Texas heat just to get your tits lit by like, well, it won't be Jack Scroshans anymore. It hasn't been for a minute now, but like someone like that. Kyle Martin would have been the guy, but one of Inky's guys just starts lighting him up down in Cleburne as he's sweating his ass off in front of about 1,200 people that are all on the concourse underneath fans watching you get lit up.
Yeah. That's
where we find out how much he loves to grind.
That's it.
So anyway,
there's a chance he only throws one start, by the way.
I could see that. Honestly,
he just wants a pro baseball start they can do mic'd up.
I think he lasts till June, personally. I think in June, then he cuts it. I don't know how he'll cut it, but he'll cut it. Real question is, and this will be the smoothest transition that I've ever ruined by pointing it out, will he last longer than Vincent Towns will?
Yeah. You want to tell the people about Vincent Towns?
Sure, I'll tell them about Vincent Towns and the other folk drafted in the Atlantic League draft. And just for the record, for the Atlantic League, hey, I appreciate getting the press releases again. Thanks for adding me back to the list. Love that.
Nice. Huge.
Yeah, exactly. Big for the boys. Not as big as going to Union Night, but it's up there. If you are going to release a press release on April Fool's Day, please do not do it with the lead of 53-year-old man drafted first overall in an Atlantic League draft. Because then it gets us all questioning, is this legit or are they just messing with us? It is legit. Vincent Towns is a 53-year-old knuckleballer who was drafted first overall by the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars. He is one of several individuals drafted here, along with Eli Serrano, Brandon Haston, Wade Kelly, Isaac Fix, Mark Moclair, who you may remember from Sussex County last year, Justin Needles, great name, Tyler Smith. I've heard of many of them. This is where I get tripped up here. Hiroyuki Yamada?
Hiroyuki Yamada, yeah, that's what we're going with.
All right, I'm going to call that a win for me. That's like 80% correct. I'm calling that a win.
I'll give you that one.
Yep. And then Aaron Schaefer goes last year. They were all pitchers except for Wade Kelly going to Lexington. He's an outfielder. And Tyler Smith, ironically, going to Long Island. He'll be a catcher. So kind of some consistency there. And all the pitchers were right-handed except for Haston and Fix. Haston to Staten Island, Fix to Southern Maryland. Draft order: Hagerstown, Charleston, Staten Island, Lexington, Southern Maryland, Gastonia, Lancaster, Long Island, High Point, and York. Reverse standings, obviously. Typically with drafts, we don't really care about them because most of these guys don't make the roster, and the ones that do typically don't make an impact, and the ones that do make an impact aren't typically there for that long. But hey, there's a name or two in here that's familiar, and the novelty of a 53-year-old being taken first overall means we will talk about it, especially when we can have a lead-in that's Atlantic League adjacent. So, hey, thoughts?
Well, what are we giving thoughts on first? I don't know.
The draft as a whole and the 53-year-old going first overall.
Yeah. The draft as a whole, I feel like a lot of managers take a safe roster fill spot. But again, I mean, then you get there and you get to camp and you have a chance to earn a spot. So sure. I wouldn't, unless you walk into a Josh Sala situation, which, famously.
Yeah. That's one in how many, though?
Exactly. Literally every pick that there's been since I started covering Indie Ball. Eli Serrano, he's a guy who's been around Indie Ball. So, he's had a few moments throughout his pro career where it's like, okay, he's got something cooking. And then he got, post-COVID just has not really, I think he was the guy that we even looked at when I was in Lexington and we were like, yeah, I don't know. Didn't really hit. But that's to say he has been competitive at that level before, so we'll see. Then let me think. Yeah, I guess straight to Vincent Towns. I don't want to be a buzzkill, but like my inside knowledge working with Mark Minakazi, Hagerstown's manager, is he tends to have he tends to draft like this. Like if I go back to when I was in Lexington, he was with the Genomes, and he drafted a local guy who was like an older dude who was known as just like a journeyman, and he basically didn't really have a shot at making it out of camp, and he didn't make it out of camp. And then he drafted Scrappy Hopkins, who now I'm going to go to the Scrappy Hopkins thing. I don't know if he picked her as a viable player or not. He definitely picked her and then turned her into the bullpen catcher for the year. It was definitely a big, I think, first woman drafted by a professional baseball league, if I recall. So there was that. Personally, I'm on the record of a big Scrappy defender. I think she was great and still is, but I think he already has a roster in mind. And I think that's the problem with the Atlantic League draft is there's just less up for grab roster spots. Like at this point, most teams already are pretty locked in on what their situation is. I could see Staten Island being up in the air right now, but like that's kind of it. And I think at the lower levels, you still have some more either open spots or spots that are attackable by a guy you find in the draft. And it's just not really what you see here. But that is to say, drafting a 53-year-old knuckleballer is not overly unpredictable for Mark Minakazi. And by the way, he's a local guy. Like, so again, you're looking for somebody who you don't necessarily need to pay for flights for, spoiler alert. So that's a big deal. This guy was also used to be in the Giant system. I don't know if there's a connection there, but Mark was as well. Yeah, I mean, last pro work was in 1992. I don't know. I think it's fine. And look, if somebody's going to make it work as a 53-year-old, it's going to be a knuckleballer for sure, because that's where like, it matters less. But also, like, is it realistic? No, but sure. I mean,
his knuckleball got nothing on yours, so.
Bro, I still can't throw it. I'm so upset about that. Like, I would not be upset about not being able to throw it if I couldn't before, and I could. Now I can't. It makes me sad. Anyway, but Mark is also the kind of guy to be like, yeah, it seems fun. Let's do this. And I know that on a whim because I was doing the social media for the Genomes at the time, as well as was one of the main people doing press releases and all of that. And he didn't give us any heads up. He was drafting the first like woman to be drafted in a professional baseball league ever. He just did it. And then the league put something out there where it's like, oh, are you putting something out about this? And we had to be like, I'm sorry, what? It's 4:00 on a Friday. What's going on? That's how I know that Mark just kind of vibes. That's all I'm saying.
It kind of feels like Mark's just in it for the lulz, so to speak.
Oh, there's a lot of that going on with Mark. And I hate it and also think it's so great. I'm also like, yeah, dude.
You hate it when you're the one that's got to write the press release and deal with the fallout.
Yeah. When I'm now staying at work till 6 p.m. so I can write a damn press release.
Yeah. The rest of the time, you're like, oh, this is phenomenal.
Again, and by the way, just quick complaint on this. The Atlantic League reached out to us, right? So they're already down the trial. They knew this was happening. They write the press release fully, so they're ready to go. And then so we're now 2.5 hours after this draft pick happens. And then asks us what we're doing with it. And we got to be like, we were never informed that this happened because it's not like the draft was broadcast or anything like that. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, okay. And then we touch base with Mark, start putting something together. And then the Atlantic League, knowing we're still working on a press release, put out their press release. And we're like, thanks. That was a random rant. A lot of Lexington trauma coming out today.
It's a great time, isn't it? It's like therapy. It's okay, white boy. You don't need therapy. You have a podcast.
So true. Now for those who are going to be the victims.
They're willing victims. They could turn this off. It's like cyberbullying. Turn the screen off.
Fair.
Tyler, the creator.
So good.
My only real thoughts on Vincent Towns are, this is interesting. And I kind of want to see someone get struck out by a 53-year-old.
That's going to be pressure, man. Anyway, what do we got going next?
All right. So moving on from the Atlantic League for the week, we take a detour over to the American Association because Kane County is your BCL champions. They defeat Diablos Rojos del Mexico 9-7 in the final. They go 6-0 in the tournament. The second American Association team to win the BCL. I gotta be honest with you, it just kind of seems like the association teams kind of fly through this tournament.
Are they not the third?
This is the third tournament. They won 2 of them.
That's right. 2025, they didn't win. That's crazy. Anyway, I'm back. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah. What to make of this?
I don't really know what we can. This really does kind of feel like the burn after reading scene, which is, I don't really know what we learned. And just a situation where we kind of leave it at, like, get back to me when it makes more sense.
I mean, bro. Okay. So we've been on the record. We love the concept. Okay.
Yes.
We have reservations about a lot of it, which is not always the fault of the tournament.
Yes.
The big picture timing is difficult because of when teams are together and available and all that stuff. The smaller picture timing, like doing it during the opening day week/weekend, like straight across those days, a little crazy. That's a little crazy. The roster construction also drives me a little bit nuts also, because I'm at a point where there's so much, because of the dynamics of the moving rosters and having to accumulate enough guys to play ball before even rosters are set. There's just a lot of like almost all-star team construction type of stuff going on, which is whatever, fine. But I almost would prefer, and I think I kind of mentioned this last time, I would almost prefer they're just more open about it. They're like the Kansas City or the King County Cougars have won, and they have the opportunity to build the best team they can for this tournament coming up. Like, almost just play that up. Like, each team's trying to build their super team for this quick run based off of their own roster. But like,
yeah, you know, it'd be kind of fun is if when they're doing the whole team announcement thing, they make it a quote unquote league draft to see who's going to represent everybody on the Cougars this time. Like, that kind of like, they're our standard bearer, the Cougars are, but these guys are going to make up the team, and they kind of do something like that.
My main theory continues to be on all of this, whether we're talking about international or just multiple indie leagues. If it's going to be hard to get a situation where you can have individual teams playing each other, we should say we're playing all-star teams against each other. I think that would work better. But okay, here's my issue. When we're doing all-star teams, there's something that happens, which is you're going to have far more batters available than pitchers, because pitchers are far more cautious with the pitches that they throw on their shoulders and elbows. They are far more, if they're under contract with somebody or kind of have a light contract agreement, some of them are less thrilled to let you go, or be like, yeah, go do that. Or if they already have a contract locked up, they might not want to say yes to go throw in a weekend tournament or a week-long tournament and mess their elbow up, and then they're not getting paid for 2 years. Like, there's a lot there. So it's harder to get pitchers. And in general, it's hard to get pitchers just because there's a shortage of them, right? So that, though, when you're doing an all-star team, but you're not really, really getting the best pitchers available, you end up with a lot of, in a tournament where there's already going to be some lopsided results because it's a baseball tournament. Like, the results in order were 17-5 in a game, a 14-7 game, and a 9-8 game, which, sure, fine. 10-6 game, 16-10, 16-6, 9-0, 12-4, and a 9-7 game Kane County was in, and then a 36-13 game. I know there was like an hour-long inning in the one Kane County game. I think that 36-13 game just absolutely was insane. You're gonna run into issues, and the main issue I'm finding whenever I flip one of these games on, which already isn't that often because you put it during opening week, is, man, the baseball was hard to watch. And I think it's the second year in a row that we've said that, and maybe the third time in a row we've said that, where you hop in to watch. I don't know that I need a 4 hour long 36-13 game. I just don't know that I do. And I don't know. It's because part of it, why it's valuable, I think it allows us potentially a window into what leagues are better than other leagues, but like, is it even that? So I don't know. Once again, my takeaway is I don't know what to make of this, but it's frustrating because I want to make a lot of it, and it's just really hard to do so.
Yeah.
Negative pod.
I do wonder for at least the offense, it was also a bit of an environmental thing.
Yeah,
that's just going to have, so that's going to be a factor into. I do think you make a point though about guys, they're still in their ramp up, and unlike with the WBC where it's like, oh, like you get hurt, it's bad, but like you'll still be all right financially. I do agree being a little bit more open about what they're doing roster wise would be nice. It feels like adding more teams may help a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like right now, knowing that like these leagues will all have a representative kind of hinders it a little bit, I think. I wish there was some greater way where like we had, say, instead of 5 or 6 leagues involved, we had more like 8 to 12 leagues involved, and we only took like the top 4 like champions here or something like that. We brought more in to make it seem more prestigious, more exclusive, but that obviously takes a lot more buy-in. That's a lot more difficult to work out, and logistics become a hellscape here too. I also don't think it helps that you got to play games during the day where the stadium is closed to the public. I mean, that makes a lot of the the clips and stuff look bad optically, because how are you supposed to have that context in those clips? It just looks like empty ballpark, which admittedly, I don't know how much say the BCL itself and the leagues have in that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the person putting on the event is going to call that shot every time, and you're just at their mercy. But yeah, there's just a bunch of little things, and I do agree. I think like the timing this year just wasn't great. Between having the basketball on too with opening day is a rough roll. I mean, WBC you would think would help, but honestly, I think hurts it more.
Yeah, people just got a drop off too.
Yeah, people just got their fix, and the ones that are riding the high may go to it. It's not the same thing. It's like a cousin to it, I suppose, because it is still like international matchups, but it's not national club versus national club. It's like league with diverse population playing league with diverse population. So it's not quite the same thing. Yeah, I do kind of wonder, and it's an idea we discussed before, I believe, moving it to more middle of the year, all-star break time, if that would help more. But that's a whole other logistical nightmare to go with. So I don't really know. I refer back to my original comment of report back when it just makes sense.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. I mean, it's just...
Yeah, I hate dogging on it. Yeah, like I hate dogging on it, especially like when we don't have anything to contribute, because that's like the lowest form of doing anything. Just be like, it's bad, doesn't elaborate. Like, that ain't right. If you're gonna dog on something, at least be able to give something constructive about it, either solution or, deep dive on it. But there's nothing else I really got here. It's just like, yeah.
Well, I mean, there is more. It's just I feel like we've been on it before. My main thing has always just been the timing of it makes it difficult to pull off. There's not a lot you can do about the timing right now unless it becomes more legit. And to be more legit, you have to just keep grinding and growing the thing. And I think with that, it's just there's growing pains that I'm not super excited for and about the tournament. And there's reasons I can't get into it. Some of it's their fault, some of it's not. It just is what it is, man.
Adjacent type, I'm using that word a lot this week. Adjacent type question here to you.
Mhm.
Would it be more interesting to you if instead of having a traditional like East-West All-Star game, they did more of a national type All-Star game where like US versus the world or something like that?
I mean, maybe again, and that's where I get a little weird with it because, like, okay, when it comes to international baseball, I have trouble overly getting excited about any idea because international baseball is still so poorly set up and organized. Uh, I like the idea of a baseball champions league, but if you can only get it for, I don't know, it's just, I'd be, I guess all that to say, yes, I'd be more intrigued with it. However, I'd be most intrigued by doing Indie League One.
Well, that's what we all
And
want,
like
but we're never going to get.
Is a showcase of the All-Stars from the four leagues. They'll play a weekend like showcase tournament. Bang. And I don't know. I think that's far more simple to pull off than the international setup. I mean, frankly, if we're really going to do a baseball champions league, it can't just be the American Association. They have to be playing the other leagues to make me really even. That's a weird one. For me to really even care about it, I partially need them to actually be the team. Because I look at it, I'm like, you're sending King County, who already had a losing record going into the playoff. Mm-hmm. And then we're sending, we're not even to run them up against York. You know what I mean? And I get why. I am not oblivious. I understand why. I know the whole background. I know it's a logistical nightmare. Getting everyone to work together is impossible. And there's reasons it hasn't happened. But really, until those types of, like, not only would I rather see it between indie teams, if you're going to send in one indie ball team to an international tournament, I am also like, still kind of need you to play each other. Sorry.
I do wonder if you got better infrastructure and instead of sending league champions, you sent continental champions, if that'd be more intriguing, where like you have your South American or Caribbean champion, then you have your North American champion, European champion, an Asian champion, like something like along those lines.
Yeah, not wrong.
I mean, obviously that turns into a whole nightmare though, because then you have to run various continental championships as well from the leagues that buy in on it, and then turns into a whole thing. And if you only really have like 2 or 3 leagues, then now it's a whole bitch of a way of trying to do it. So I don't know, but it could be a way of running it. Maybe that's their end goal. I wouldn't be surprised if it is, but that's where we stand on it. I suppose we could continue on here and go to what we thought was going to be our lead story, but instead wound up being like the second half banger of one. And that is, of course, the Yuba set of Firebirds are going to be using ABS at home this year. Now, I do want to correct them. They are not the first team to be using ABS. Korea is doing it currently. And
the entire Atlantic League. Exactly. Which, again, seemingly the Pioneer League keeps forgetting. No, we're the first professional baseball team named after a brand. You weren't, though. The famously just happened a couple of years ago. It's like they don't even do their own legwork on their press releases. It's like
but don't worry, they're quick to point out the things that were adapted to Major League Baseball, such as the knockout round weirdo thing, whatever. I don't even know, which I don't think that really was adapted at all, but whatever.
Used in an All-Star game, so we didn't have a debacle of a tie. Okay. First of all, positive episodes are coming because French League recap is going to be fun, and the previews I'm always hyped about. So like, it's coming. I'm already excited about Atlantic League previews. I've been doing the first couple teams on my end. I'm very excited about it.
It is April. We're going to have live baseball in like literally 3 weeks.
Bunch of dumb negative indie ball stuff just kind of dropped this week and just compounded. And I'm like, all right. And then everyone's mad at me on Twitter because I said I'm basically that we thought about picking up Trevor Bauer and we didn't think he was a good guy. Crazy take. Anyway, yeah. So this is stupid as hell. On levels that go many directions. I think starting with ABS at one ballpark, which actually I think is the most acceptable of the things happening here, because you could just roll into, well, ground rules at every park are different, which is also not how this works. But sure, if you squint and tilt your head, okay. ABS is just not good. And I witnessed up close and personal the Atlantic League ABS experiment, and it was a dumpster fire. And it is refreshing to see it happening in the KBO and know it's not just like the Atlantic League or whoever was a mess. I like that it's everybody is struggling with this. ABS is a problem because you can define the zone. You have two options. I'll give the quick background here on what the problem is that they're running into, right? So they set it up the simple way the first time. The strike zone I believe they had it as a 2-dimensional box starting at the front of the plate. Yes, that was it. Okay. So I might have a little out of order, but this is essentially how I remember it going down. It's a 2-dimensional box at the front of the plate. That's the strike zone. The ball is to get to that, touch it, whatever. So what immediately started happening is pitchers started throwing, just breaking stuff that would break, hit the bottom corner, and then be gone. And by the time it's in where a batter would actually swing, like a swing path would go through, that pitch is in the other batter's box gone. But it was a strike. Okay. That was a problem. So they tried to fine tune it a little bit. I think at one point they might have had it moved to the middle of the plate and still was kind of dealing with that problem. And then they did the 3-dimensional plate idea where it had to like pass through the strike zone above the plate sort of thing. Right. And then because there was still like pitchers were still able to take advantage of it. That was because if it's a 3-dimensional zone, it's still into the front of the plate. That front corner of the plate on the furthest end from the batter is still impossible to reach with a breaking ball when it's a breaking ball that's breaking away from the batter. It's not touchable and it's a strike. Okay. And it is technically a strike, but it's not realistic. Every batter's going to step up in the zone and now they're getting beat by fastballs. That's the issue. Okay. So then I believe I think they tightened up the strike zone. And then the issue was nothing was a strike. It was going back and forth. And what we learned was no matter what adjustment there was always a very quick way to take advantage of it. And it sounds like the KBO is dealing with the same thing as well. And it's just not great. It's not good. And every once in a while it doesn't work straight up. Every once in a while it's not calibrated correctly. There was a famous incident with Lancaster where they had 30 plus walks in a game. And famously, this is why when I first started the ALPB Roundup, I was on the league website, and then the Atlantic League no longer had me on the website because I reported on the fact that this was a mess. The ABS zone was set up incorrectly, like the TrackMan system was set up incorrectly. I was told that was not the case. And that I was wrong about that, while also looking at pictures of them adjusting the TrackMan system in the ballpark. So I was literally talking to somebody who worked in the box that used it. So that was a mess. It was highly contentious, and everybody ends up unhappy about it. And you end up with a lot of weird situations. And I would just caution everybody about it because everybody really likes the challenge system right now. No one's like, this is great. We should just go to ABS. Bro, if you ask the players who play with ABS, they want the challenge system.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
If for a reason, which I already have, by the way.
That's what I keep coming back to on ABS is that it is such a hard thing to refine in, and I will never forget the amount of bitching from every player and everybody that was watching it and watching the live Atlantic League box scores. As you saw pitches get in and marked in, and you're watching them going, okay, that makes sense. And then you'd watch the highlight and go, that makes no sense. Mm-hmm. And how much that would screw with everything. And I understand wanting to call the game by the rules, but this kind of goes back to my human element part of the thing. When you grow up with certain things being strikes, always, and certain things being balls, always, it doesn't matter how you calculate the thing. It's gonna piss people off when those are no longer balls and strikes. And as an umpire, you really don't want to be dealing with that all game long where you're going, guys, it's not me, it's the system here. Because then it's just going to start to grind and grind and grind. And then as a manager and as a coach, you're like, at some point, I'm probably gonna have to get myself thrown out of here because if I don't, my guys are gonna be getting tossed left and right. Because once it happens to you the second time in one night, now you're losing your shit. And, understandably so, if something that literally hit the dirt is being called a strike, it's going to start to get to you. So I just don't have a lot of confidence there. I also am curious about the rollout here. I mean, honestly, the biggest thing from this release is that they have a 3-year deal with TrackMan, like the official TrackMan, not like one of the offshoots.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest thing here. I hope it goes well. I do, but I just have such a low expectation from what I've seen in the Atlantic League, which I regard as, and this is a wild sentence to be saying, a well-ran league in comparison to what the Pioneer League has been rolling out the last couple of years. So, yeah, I just don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. I mean, I am excited about the TrackMan connection. I think that's a good thing. At least it has like a potential. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it's utilized well. That's always my concern with the Pioneer League. But especially with guys that I think it's particularly good because if you have the right system in place and you have the right data being tracked and you are working with them and are able to properly bring in and organize that data, is extremely important for a league like the Pioneer League that's been struggling to get guys signed and to prove legitimacy of the success that guys are having. It's a lot easier if you have the data to show teams, affiliate teams, because then you're literally speaking their language and removing, data doesn't care what ballpark you're in. You know what I mean? And I think that's, or what elevation you're at, or what weird traveling team you're playing.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it's being integrated, though. Especially with some of these ballparks, I don't know how it can be.
Yeah, I'm sure that's why it's sort of weird halfway measure right now. I'm wondering if there's a bigger plan. They ran into issues and they're like, well, we'll do this as like part of the rollout that we can announce something with the new deal.
My initial reaction is, that's stupid and sloppy and looks unprofessional. And I was like, but.
Yeah. Yep.
Goes back to these April Fool's jokes where you're like, I know it's probably a joke, but I think so little of some of the management teams where I'm like, I'm not totally convinced it is. Why don't we rank some of these April Fool's jokes here? We got a bunch of these jokes throughout the thing here. We'll throw a couple out, get some ideas. We're only going to stick to the main ones here. Not everybody's going to get noted.
I expressed to you my own position on these on April Fool's jokes. I think it should. I actually, while I don't enjoy them necessarily, I am always excited to have them because I think it's a really interesting look into, do front offices get it? Like, are they present and current and relevant and understanding their fan base and
what do they find
how to joke with them without going too far? It's interesting.
What do they find an acceptable joking subject matter?
Right, exactly. Because we've seen a few that were not great.
There was a couple where I was like, I'm in danger.
Right. There's that too.
And then you have something like the Manitoba mosquito that roll out an actual alternate identity on April Fool's Day, which is actually pretty solid branding.
Fair.
I actually kind of want a hat from them, but we'll work that out separately here. And I'm going to go on a whole alternate ID rant at some point in the future. I don't know when, but let's just say there's too many of them. The bit's run its course.
Yeah, I agree completely. I'm becoming an old man on that one.
Who's the damn logo that you paid for? Damn it. Unlike the Oakland Blazers.
Yeah.
This is a bad one. I mean, like, I don't even get what the joke's supposed to be. Ha ha ha, 420 Blazers. What is this, 2010? We got Facebook humor now.
Yeah, that seems to be the vibe. Like, all right. But hey, look, I don't know. From what I was seeing, it seemed to do well with a certain portion of their audience. So
Yeah,
You know,
they're unemployed.
you can just say they live in Oakland.
No, some people work in Oakland.
Got him. I actually like Oakland. That was not necessary. I would have said that about any city. It was too much of a softball. For me, I think
From 4 Oakland to
it's not that
420.
creative. It's just sort of haha weed,
Yeah.
edgy, edgelord content. I was like, all right, sure.
Yeah, I didn't love it. It just kind
But
of
they're
feels.
teasing that they're really going to do it, which actually I will at least somewhat respect.
I just get some big Pecos energy from that.
Oh, it's big Pecos energy.
Never go full Pecos.
Nope, never go full Pecos.
That's going to be a t-shirt. That's the thing. If I ever decide that like I want to try and generate money, there's a lot of t-shirts I can make, and there's a lot of them that'll probably get me sued. I feel like never go full Pecos is one that would get me sued.
Never go full Pecos, yeah.
But I also feel like it's a bestseller, so like, we'll save the two bangers for the end there. Daryl Henry retirement post or broadcaster joke.
Probably a little too niche, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a couple like that one. I just was like, okay, whatevs. Same thing with hot dog cologne.
Yeah.
I don't really get it.
Like, I think the sweet spot on these is like what you don't want, right? Is something where people in the know are like, huh, all right, April Fool's joke. And people who know enough, like, it's kind of like the out of touch, like, I want to say boomer crowd without saying boomer crowd, but like, it's the people who are just kind of in the know. It makes them the easy butt of it. I think the ideal one is the one where, honestly, if possible, your own fan base is kind of like, I see what you're doing, but it's viral shareable enough where it will get some play. And like the April Fool's joke is on the non-fan base, you know, like on outside the fan base, which is a tough one to get, but that's, you know, yeah, it is. Accept the challenge. That's just my opinion. But I think, you know, you get the traction of a viral post without, you know, feeling like you made a butt of, like, any of your fans about the joke. So I don't know.
If you did one with the Frontier League and Quebec in conjunction, where Quebec announces that they've won too much, and that's as a result of retiring from baseball, and the Frontier League follows up with Capitals named champion emeritus.
Yeah, that's a reach.
It's a reach, but it's the start of something.
Yeah, I do like, again,
the direction's correct.
Throwing out there. Yes, that's exactly well said. Yeah.
We're starting to get there, but you know. Speaking of the Frontier League, they had an expansion joke going international.
Yes.
I will go. If you're an international player, reach out to me. I will give you Shep's phone number so that way you could personally reach out to him for those international tryout dates. He'll love it. I'm sure of it. If you're a French player, especially, he speaks French now. So it'll be perfect. Actually, stop speaking in English entirely. It's been a bitch to text him. So be sure to do that. It'll be a great time. But that was a post where I very much was like, if Pioneer League made this post, I would have seriously been like, yeah, no, I can see in front of Team Madagascar.
Well, because it's worth noting, originally, there was consideration of whether the one ballpark getting ABS in the Pioneer League was an April Fool's joke.
Yeah. I said, did I text you that where I was like, they got the date wrong in their April Fool's post?
Well, that, and honestly, before that, I had reposted it with, something, I forget. And then I got back, it occurred to me, I was like, oh, is that
real?
April Fool's joke? Like, I was like, thinking about, like, did they mess up and it was supposed to be April Fool's joke? Or it was like, they laid the groundwork and then on April Fool's, they were going to say, oh, April Fool's, everyone who believed it type of thing. And I look back, I was like, nope, they're doing that. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. The Dave Kerr pitching one, too. I know that's an April Fool's joke, but no, I want him on the mound now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Won't be happy till it happens.
Exactly. Now you got to run out there. I refuse to believe there's not going to be a date and time where you couldn't just run him out there for one game to throw not even a full inning. Mm-hmm. Give him one at bat.
There are worse players who have made appearances.
Yeah, let's Trevor Bauer.
That's not where I was going with it, but sure.
We'll take what we can get. But the creme de la creme of these was by far the American Association saying that they were going to go to banana ball rules. Because I actually saw people with legitimate conversation going, they could do the golden batter rule. And like you could. We've discussed this in the past. No one should, but you could.
No. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
No one should.
Because now we're getting to a whole different thing here. But this is one of those ones we were talking about with you do know, right? The thing you're mocking.
Right.
Like they're beating your ass right now. You should not be mocking those.
Yeah, could you imagine if we did the thing the more successful brand was doing? It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's like
I get they're playing the joke of the diehard fans, I guess. That's the one where I'm like, what is the target here? Because I guess they're playing the joke of the diehard fans who are like, oh, boo, banana ball. But then there's going to be a percentage of your fans who are excited about that. And now you got to be like, no, that was just a joke because it's so stupid. And they're like, well, I actually would have genuinely enjoyed that. Like, great. Now that's a way to kind of make your fan base feel weird. That's why I also was very big on just not doing April Fool's stuff. As crazy as the Genomes account was, no April Fool's joke. I think the two accounts just tweeted at each other about I think the Legends account said something like, wait, we're not doing April Fool's joke. And it was just like, brother, I live in your wall. The GM's account was like, brother, I live in your walls. Your life is the April Fool's joke. I think that was literally what we did. Cause I was like, I'm not getting involved in this. Don't make me do this. I'm not apologizing tomorrow.
Just like this personality can't be contained to one day of the year.
Exactly. That whole account's vibe was basically raccoon the walls anyway. So kind of played.
Then why aren't you running New Jersey's account?
I don't know.
But yeah, I just don't
ask things like that of me.
I just think it's kind of odd to do that one. And I understand that, and I'll cut this one off the pass before I get the DMs. I understand you guys are doing two different things, but you're both baseball entertainment. Just one leans more into the entertainment than the baseball and vice versa. But you're still getting killed and they're still rating your players because they can pay you more because they're making a lot more money because what they're doing is a lot more appealing. And I understand they have less competition and they were first to market and they refined what they did, but they refined what they did to refine what you do and try to make it better. I respect that you guys are getting partnerships and trying to do different things and at least they're making moves as opposed to certain leagues that are sitting on their damn hands. We know which ones we're talking about. And I understand all that. But they're still beating your ass. Please fix it. Although that being said,
this might be the end of this one. I think I'm the one getting tired out before you on this one.
No, I'm tired. I'm just pushing through it. The caffeine and that Mountain Dew is doing some work.
I got to start saving up energy just for the grind that this Frontier League review is going to be.
The grind of indie ball wins in the end.
That's the one. I was just going to say that's the one where there's always the segment of preseason or the game where everyone kind of goes full effort, goes as long as you can in the game just to make sure you got it built up for the regular season. I feel like that's doing the Frontier League review right now. It's making sure our stamina's up, we're locked in. Even
if we only do 3 minutes a team for that Frontier League one, it's still an hour of just doing that.
So much.
And it's not going to be 3 hours, 3 minutes a team. It's going to be closer to 5, 10. And if it's 5, it's going to be a nightmare. That may be what we just do next week. So that'll be a fun time there. But in the meanwhile, if they do want to find more of you, such as your definitely not ratioed tweet, where could they find that?
Yeah, man. I think this guy does not know what ratios means. Really worried about them. We need to improve the education system. Anyway, Indie Ball Nation on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, podcast platforms.
Cool. You gonna have any more videos coming out?
Yeah, I actually have them scheduled now. So, because I did them while we were sitting here because you made me mad, are they?
Yay. See, kids, bullying works. It got us the Gary promo schedule. It's getting videos from Ryan. We're 2 for 3. We need to get that 3 for 3. You can find out if we go 3 for 3 by following the pod wherever you find podcasts and on Twitter at IndieBallPod, IndieBall Report, everywhere else. We got all that this week. We will actually talk Frontier League probably exclusively next week unless somebody wants something dumb. Like, I don't know. We'll see somebody sign Wander Franco or something. And then we'll really just feel like there's no shame anymore.
I mean, I think there's likely to be some Atlantic League news, but we're going to talk probably about whatever happens in the preview, so it's whatever.
Oh, okay. And just remember, Jay Groom has a fan club.
Just remember, it only takes a few thousand views for people to start saying racist stuff on a Twitter post, which I think has always kind of been the case. In fact, I think that was Twitter's motto for a while.
It's certainly the motto nowadays.
Yeah. Nothing I ever say should be seen by 150,000 people.
Kind of a big deal, folks. And until next time, don't forget to play ball.